Oh, we'll get there. We always get there.
Well, we might. So anyway, welcome, guys. We're on Jack Napier's channel, Troy Francis' channel, live, Twitter, coming at you live on X. Do you call it X now or Twitter?
No, I still call it Twitter. Even in like the search bar, I still type like TW and it gives me Twitter.
Yeah, I think. Do you think at some point people are going to start saying? But it's a bit weird, isn't it? Because even if people start saying X, we're still referring to the posts as tweets, aren't we? I guess it should be posts, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I saw it's now reposting and posts indeed. I'm like, Elon, seriously.
So he's taken off like any sort of. So really, we shouldn't be saying, "Oh, I saw this tweet the other day." We should be saying, "I saw this post" or something.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of let others do the work, he let Jack Dorsey build this entire platform, and he's now taking the credit. It's now X. It's mine. I made this. It's like, what about Jack Dorsey? Jack who?
What about poor Jack Dorsey? Yeah. So basically, so what we're talking about today is we're sort of sporadically doing the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, and we're on Law 7. It's going to take us about 5 years to get through this whole thing, but anyway, regardless. So as a sort of starting off point, we'll talk about Law 7, but probably deviate into some other stuff as well, I would imagine. And the thing with when we do this, it's always trying to sort of see, is there sort of some application in terms of dating or the red pill or, all of that good stuff. And this one, well, I don't know. Maybe you'll be able to help me out with this one. I'm not really sure. I think there's probably examples of this we can cite, like Rollo Tomasi. But, who's basically
that was the first man.
Really.
That was the first man that came to mind. Like in dating, not so much, where it's like, let others do the work for you, but always take the credit. I mean, maybe if you have a stylist and a girl asks you about it and you just say, yes, I have a very acute sense of fashion. Meanwhile, you have a stylist who you pay for, kind of thing. Yeah,
I suppose that could be one thing. So, I mean, what does the law really say? I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. Get others to do the work and you take the credit. And, I don't know if you want to add to this. He has this example of, is it Fouquet, who's the finance minister in France, who built this amazing ornate palace for Louis XIV to try to impress him. But Louis XIV feels overshadowed. And so he gets rid of Fouquet. I'm not sure if he does a sort of...
That's never outshine the master when Fouquet tries to get in favor with him. But he feels...
this is okay. This has come up wrong in this summary that I've got then, because they're citing it here, and then they're saying that he then rebuilds it. So the lesson drawn is that the king, because then the king builds the Palace of Versailles. So then they're saying that he's then taking the credit for that. But you're saying that's not actually in that chapter.
Could be, though, because what Robert Greene tends to do in his books is make references to other laws. Okay. Where there are multiple laws applicable. So it could very well be, like I said, what I remember is the Nikola Tesla story about the AC/DC, and that what's his name? Thomas Edison.
Yes.
Put the or got the patent on it on the radio. That's why everybody thinks that Thomas Edison is the inventor of the radio. Meanwhile, it was Tesla who invented all the technique to create the radio.
Right.
And what's his name? Thomas Edison has a lot of that. Even The Simpsons did an episode on it. It was like, he was a lousy inventor, but a great marketer.
Did he invent the light bulb?
That is what he is known for.
But did he really invent it, or did somebody else invent it? And then he...
Knowing what I know about Edison, I don't think he did. But I mean, this is 2023. Everything we have been told is now a lie,
Cigarettes are good for you, man.
Yeah.
Not medical advice. But it's interesting, though, because I have to confess, and this is why maybe there's some doubt about what's in the chapter, because I didn't really have any time because I've been running around this morning. I actually went on to ChatGPT. And I asked ChatGPT to do a summary of the chapter so I could read the summary. So if it's wrong, it's ChatGPT's fault. But that's not why I mentioned it. The interesting thing is that I don't know if you use ChatGPT particularly, but it's very sort of woke, and it's very sort of reasonable. So there's almost like a health warning underneath these Robert Greene chapters. It's like, oh, well, obviously, you've got to use this advice responsibly and blah, blah, blah. Whereas Robert Greene himself is just completely amoral, isn't he? He's just like, whatever works. It's basically, rip people off, take the credit for it. Jobs, all good. Whereas ChatGPT is like, oh, no, but guys, be careful, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, I know. It's like, but that's what I love about Green's work and even Rolo's work. You see, I can compliment him. I can. is that it's like very objective, where it's like, I am not telling you how to feel about this. I am not telling you how I feel about this. I'm just telling you as it is. Where it's like, women are polygamists. Hey, if you want to be successful, take the credit for other people's work. We used to do this in school all the time, people.
Exactly.
You didn't want to put in the work. It's like you found like the one guy who loved to do the thing for school because he wanted the extra credit. You just put your name on it. It's like, done.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think there's a lesson here really, which is that all's fair in love and war, and certainly in the harsh realities of the modern dating marketplace. So, it's kind of like, I don't know, man. I mean, I sit somewhere in a grey area with this stuff because I don't think you should fuck people over, and I do actually believe in being authentic and pretty upfront. But at the same time, you've got to appreciate that, are women always completely upfront? Are they always authentic? Do they fuck people over? I mean, of course they do. So it's kind of a harsh world out there. And if you're too moralistic about this stuff, and you're too like, oh my god, if you're too Ned Flanders about this stuff, like all the crap people on Twitter, the problem is, you're likely to get fucked over at some point.
Well, exactly. It is the denial of could. Like, women could cheat. All women could be like that. People could screw you over and take the credit, especially in corporate world, schools, you name it. I mean, we keep coming back to Rolo, but his work is so plagiarized that we could just make the entire show about him and just look through YouTube, put in hypergamy, and you'll get like 33 secrets. You'll get John Anthony lifestyle. You get, what's his name? Even RSD. It's like they all take Rolo's ideas. All the trad accounts on Twitter all take Rolo's ideas, like all of them, and they present them. They present it as their own idea, and then sprinkle a little hope and joy on it instead of objective truth.
Don't the trad accounts mainly slag him off? Or do you think they use the same sort of material?
But I mean, everybody does that. Even
all of the big shows. I mean, if you look at Fresh Fit, if you look at Pearl, and probably these, I don't know, I don't watch whatever as much, but I mean, they're all kind of predicated on these same ideas, aren't they? Really, it's
absolutely. I mean, even the people who got famous by spouting red pill truths. And as soon as like the authorities came down on them, were like, "Hey, these red pill guys are dorks." It's like, "Oh, interesting." So, now you don't need.
But we were saying this last time in the last stream. But what you find a lot is that even some of these sort of more trad accounts, they'll sort of, on the one hand, they say, "Oh, these red pill dorks," blah blah blah. But then when you actually get down to their advice, it's often basically the same stuff that we're saying, except just phrased slightly differently, And it's sort of like, well, you're basically, in some cases, selling the same advice. You're just pretending not to be part of the group, which is, a bit disingenuous.
What was his name? Prometheus or something on Twitter was an example of that. By God, I've seen his avatar a couple of times, and I found it a bit like more like a Grindr profile photo than a Twitter profile photo, in all honesty. But
he did do that thread, didn't he, and having a pop at a lot of red pill ideas. But I mean, people like that are just selling hopium, though, aren't they? Really?
Well, exactly. It's like taking TRP's ideas and then selling it as their own. But it works. Like Prometheus has a killer account.
Yeah, but I think he's not selling red pill ideas so much, though, is he? He's saying the red pill is wrong, and here's what you should do instead. Find a good woman and settle down.
Yeah, exactly. And then puts like the sprinkles that works for him, like, oh, these red pill truths.
Well, I mean, what a lot of these guys will say is that if you do it right, like me, then you won't have any of these problems. And these red pill guys are just dorks, and they're coping because they can't find a good woman, or they, blah blah blah, whatever. But let's give it 10 years, let's give it 15 years, and see where these guys are then. Because I feel that Father Time kind of comes in and kind of messes up with everyone's plans a little bit,
Well, the thing is, and this might get kind of dark, but it is very objective. Rob and I used to talk about this, where Rob mentioned the hard rebellion. And what he meant by that is that these trad guys get daughters and whatever, and they treat them like the wholesome trad virgin blessings from God. But they also bestow upon them like the retribution that will happen if they like dare to stray from the path. And Rob is like, just give them 14 years and see where that goes. Like, see what happens when you push your morals and judgments on a teenager. It's like, if they can get through that, if their teenager does not rebel, then I will give you credit. But until then, it's like, dude, no, because they refuse to acknowledge the objective truths about women. They could cheat. They could go for chat. They could do X, Y, and Z, hybristophilia, all the evil, naughty things. Yeah. And they just assume, well, I'm a trad dad. My daughter won't do that. Meanwhile, she's in the back alley at 18 doing whatever God didn't intend her to do.
Yeah.
With Troy Francis.
Well, quite possibly. Well, Michaela Peterson, obviously, got in some interesting situations, didn't she? It seems like in Romania.
Kill the party.
Yeah. Troy, are you going to Notting Hill Carnival this weekend? I don't know. So basically, Notting Hill Carnival this weekend, massive big celebration in Notting Hill, hence the name. I probably not, to be honest. I don't plan to. I might pop in on one of the days. It kind of runs. Well, actually, does it run over 3 days now? You got Saturday, Sunday, and probably. Is it bank holiday? Shit, it's the bank holiday, isn't it?
Nice.
This means nothing probably to anyone outside England, but I think we've got the Monday as a holiday, if I'm correct. So possibly, but I don't really plan to. Is the answer. Nice. My oldest is 12. The hard rebellion's beginning already. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's maybe like you and I are not fathers, but like I don't.
Well, because not that we know of, Jack.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Not that we know of. But like my best friend has kids, and I kind of like. Of course, I keep my mouth shut. I don't say anything, but I look at certain things. It's like, oh, how would I do that when that would occur? And blah, blah, blah. Let's say they're older. What would I talk to them about? Kind of thing. Like if I had a daughter, I'd be. Like, I would, like, just be very honest with her. Like, honey, men want you for your looks, then your personality. If you use social media, men will try to use your social media to get in contact with you. Well, like, what are you supposed to do with that? Well, be smart about it and think about X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask them to mom or me. I had a boss once who was like, oh, my daughter's turning 15 and she's going out and I'm worried. I'm like, well, have you tried opening up to her about, hey, you are free to talk to me? Oh, no, I let my wife do that. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Everything you worry about will happen.
Yeah, I mean, well, man, it's a, I don't know, it's a mind-bogglingly huge responsibility. I think you're right, though. I think all you can do really is be kind of honest. And I mean, you're not going to start necessarily reading a Rational Male when she's, 16 or whatever. But it's kind of like you want to sort of, I imagine you want to kind of tell it like it is, and just say, look, and ultimately just be like, look, it's your life, ultimately do with it as you want. However, these are the realities that I've observed, and that's how it is.
Yeah.
But then I'm sure nobody's asking for the Troy Francis parenting skills course. Coming soon on Road.
That's one of the things I love about Cappy. I haven't talked to him in ages. It's been so long since I talked to him, but he would have been the perfect dad that never was.
I see him as a kind of father figure myself, to be honest.
Yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, I think he's a raging homosexual, but he has some good advice here and there.
Exactly. No, you're right. He is, and I'm sure he's got a niece, hasn't he? I'm sure he's a very good, uncle and everything else. But yeah, man, he took the old red pill advice, didn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. But I'm thinking, because like Rolo is I was trying to put the law in Cappy's perspective, but I don't know a lot of people who take like Cappy's advice and take the credit. Yeah, maybe Rolo with the vasectomy thing. Like, I remember that tweet went viral. I'm like, wait a minute, didn't like Cappy make 3 videos 10 years ago about a vasectomy? Here's Rolo getting all the guff for it. It's like, what the hell, man? It's like,
well, yeah. I think it was just the way that the tweet was phrased and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Rolo took Cappy's credit, man. Like, I'm not saying. I'm just saying, you know.
Well, you know, John Anthony actually had made videos about getting the snip as well.
Hope he did.
Indeed.
Too easy, man. Too easy.
Chad of Arabia. Hello, sir. How are you? Good to see you.
BB.
If anyone's got any questions or comments or anything you want to say that isn't too horrifically rude, well, even if it is, actually, just put it in the chat and we'll deal with it.
Yeah, we'll just go to Rumble afterwards. Everybody's doing that.
Yeah, probably have to be honest. I mean, have you got a Rumble account yet?
Yeah, I do. And I have an Odyssey as well. So there's a backup of everything.
So what is better? Is Odyssey any good, or is? I mean, it seems like Rumble seems to be the thing of choice, but I see there's some interesting stuff on Odyssey as well. I mean, do you know if one of them is better for creators or not?
In all honesty, I think it's gonna come down to porn.
Oh, well, it usually does.
Well, yeah, like HD, DVD, and Blu-ray. The one that went for porn, that one. Like Blu-ray won. VHS and the other one, VHS chose or porn chose VHS, it won, kind of thing. Yeah. But from what you're seeing now, Rumble is hosting like the debates, Fresh and Fit. They're hosting Tate. They're hosting all the people who are controversial and what people want to see. So they have a huge demographic. Odyssey doesn't really push for that. At least I don't see any big guys on Odyssey. So I think it's going to be Rumble and that, but YouTube will always exist because YouTube is like Google. YouTube is Google, actually. YouTube is like the next to Google, the most used search engine.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, what about the accusation that could even be leveled at us, unbelievably, which is that we're basically just, you know, taking other people's work and sort of taking the credit for it? Because, I mean, obviously, if you're in this space, I mean, a lot of the stuff we say, well, certainly a lot of the stuff I say has been said before by other people. I'm not, there's a lot of stuff that I know that I impart in videos that I haven't necessarily made up myself. The only thing I would say in my defense, though, is that I will always put my own spin on it. And I'll always incorporate as much of my own experience as I can. So, and sometimes on that note, I'll sometimes challenge things that other people have said, like, I don't know. I mean, like it's an example. I don't particularly want to get railroaded into talking too much about this, but I was going again. The orthodoxy is that you should never go on a dinner on the first date, which I kind of basically hold by. I think that's a good advice, generally speaking. But there's a couple of times, I've kind of like gone for a little meal or something like that, and it's not the deal breaker that people would have you believe. You can do it. It's just that you've got to you've got to control the frame on that date, if that makes sense. You've got to be, because one of the difficulties with that is that it's hard to sort of flirt and be sexual over a dinner table, But if you do that and you can keep the vibe right, but you guys can have a bite to eat, it's okay. You can still, make things happen. It's not the end of the world. So, I will go against orthodoxy sometimes if it doesn't concur with my experience. So I think, I don't know, man. Maybe that's just a massive self-justification, but I think that everybody who creates content, they do build on it somewhat and bring their own spin on things.
Yeah, I mean, standing on the shoulders of giants, but at least acknowledge the giants kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I will always try to credit people. Like, I'll always sort of say, I think Rollo said this, or I think this was from RSD, or Torero said this, or whatever. Like, I'll always try and sort of credit it back. I don't just say things and, pretend it was I invented it,
That's a very good example, Torero. Like, speaking of let others do the work for you, but take the credit, there are now like channels who take all of Torero's stuff and just upload it.
Well, that's almost that's just the sort of lowest common denominator, really, isn't it? Because it's not even like they're taking his ideas and then regurgitating them or repackaging them. They're just taking his stuff and putting it out there, which is, well, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what the motivations for. I mean, some people might say, well, we're just doing it to preserve his memory, but other people are probably trying to make
the amount of times I've been hit up because of that interview. It's like, oh, for fuck's sakes, guys. It's like he would have wanted it. It's like, bros, I had direct contact with the people who dealt with his estate. It's like, don't give me this. He would have wanted it. It's like, you don't know that. Some fan that's like, Tom Torero fan 89. He would have wanted you to make it public. Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I've got some video footage actually of when I was in Berlin with Torero, and we were wandering around, and we actually live streamed it. And then we took it down the next day because he didn't. Basically, what happened was we were wandering around Berlin, and we were in some like this dodgy area where I used to have a flat, and there was a load of kind of sort of semi-street people and drug addicts and all this kind of stuff. And we were just wandering around and chatting to people, and a few people outside bars and all this kind of stuff. And Torero was really worried because he thought, oh, if people see this, I'm not talking to like hot girls and maybe. And I was like, no, fuck all of that. I said, don't worry about it, man. It's like, it's not about that. This video isn't saying, oh, here's my amazing pickup skills. This video is a kind of gritty, oh, here's us wandering around and having conversations and, whatever. It's a different sort of thing. But anyway, he asked me to take it down, so I did, and I've never.
I remember that video. I was there when you were live streaming it, and I loved how Torero was such a example of doing it. Like, well, I've been known for saying if you can't open the old man at the register, don't even try with hot chicks. And he was such a good example of that because he talked to anyone.
Yeah,
and he'd do it so smoothly.
Well, that was the first time that I'd ever taken my phone out and live streamed from my phone. So we had a selfie stick and we had the phone, and it was basically like, right, okay, let's just keep this going. We live stream for about 2 hours, and we're like, right, let's just keep this going until basically the battery runs out. And that's then what I then later did with Tusk when we were in Russia. We were live streaming, doing actual approaches and live streaming it, and that was, I mean. I need to do something with that content at some point because that was pretty phenomenal, really. Although I say it myself, I mean, Tusk reckons we did about 30 videos on that trip. I mean, I'm not sure if they were all approach videos, but we basically were every day. We were like, right, let's go out, start the live streaming. Okay, let's go to approach girls. Getting blown out on live stream, getting phone numbers and things on live stream. It's brilliant. Nobody else has ever done it. Like no other sort of dating coach has ever done anything like that because nobody really has the balls to put themselves out there and show themselves kind of warts and all, like getting rejected and all this kind of thing. So it was kind of, it was a pretty cool thing actually. So I need to have a look through and see if there's any good bits I can take out for clips and things.
But like with ideas, this is a good example as well. Because I remember I saw one video of you and Tusk doing that, and it was either you or Tusk, or maybe even it was Sam who was standing in the frame, and all of a sudden this chick walks by, and one of you turns around and is like, "Hey, want to be in my video?" "Oh yeah, of course," and blah blah blah, whatever her accent was, and you just started chatting her up, like as if it was the most normal thing in the world to shoot a video in broad daylight in the city. Just get her engaged, kind of thing. That was amazing.
Yeah. Well, it was quite good because we were carrying because we were basically, it was very obvious, we were carrying this phone around, and the women that we talked to would actually play up to it often. I mean, not always, but often they would. They'd be like, "Oh, hi," because they liked the idea of. They didn't know what they kind of knew we were streaming to something. They didn't really know what, but they weren't bothered. They were just like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah." So it was but that idea, the first time I'd done it was with Torero. And we shot all of that footage in Berlin. But and like you said, I think, like, firstly, my rationale for it was, well, look, this isn't meant to be, oh, here's Tom picking up some really hot girls. It's a different kind of thing. It was a night out in Berlin, talking to some kind of crazy people in Berlin, which is a different kind of genre. But secondly, it actually did show his social skills because we were stopping outside these bars. We're at a pub for quite a while. We were to another place, and he was just talking to everybody. So it did demonstrate his ability, not necessarily with like amazingly beautiful women, but it was like just talking to people, just like, being social. And so it did show him in a good light. But anyway, there you go.
No, but you're exactly right. Like, Ryan mentions that example where it's like people always ask, could you do a rule 0 about banter? And it's like, have you paid attention? That's almost every show. And like, how do I improve?
Sometimes the medium is the message, right?
Exactly. And that's the same thing with Torero in that case, where it's like social skills. Shouldn't you be busy with something? But it's a display of social skills instead of explaining to you what they are. It really is demonstrate, do not explicate.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I think banter is quite hard to teach, really. I mean, I do try. I mean, I had that course. I've got that course. Guys, go to realtryfrancis.com. I've got that course, Dating Conversation Success, which is kind of a course about how to have conversations and how to vibe and flirt and all that kind of thing. And it breaks it down in quite a lot of detail. But a lot of that course actually is videos of me doing it, because the best way to teach it is like, here's me doing it, watch this, and copy some of that, you know, or try to see the underlying principles. So, you know, it's
Sorry, I got a bit distracted by somebody.
Good God. I don't know what's going on. I can't comment on any of this. I don't know what's going on.
You will find out soon enough.
All right.
Everybody will find out soon enough.
That salespeople all day.
Yeah, the social skills. Like, if you really want, Elliot Hulse even used to say this. Like, if you really want to be able to talk to people, learn sales. Just learn sales.
Well, a lot of people I know, not everybody, but a lot of people I know who were, you know, who were sort of got into game and whatever, content creators and stuff. I did have a background in sales. I mean, I did sales for a while. Tusk did sales. Torero didn't, but you know, and there's a few others as well. So it's definitely a great skill set to have for sure. But I always think there is a distinction though between, because we talk about social skills and we say, right, yeah, learn. Myself and Tusk will say, yeah, learn social skills so that you can get better with women. But really, there is a distinction there is a difference between chatting to the bloke at the pub versus chatting to a woman that you are attracted to with the aim of making something happen, if that makes sense.
It does.
They're complementary, but there is a bit more to it with the girl, if that makes sense.
But then the beauty is when you don't notice anymore.
Yeah.
Where talking to like the normal bloke at the bar, where talking to the woman at the bar becomes just as normal as talking at the bloke in the bar, sort of say.
Yes. And we'll put it this way, right? If you can't talk to the bloke in the bar, or you find it difficult to socialize with anybody, then you need to then work. You need to work on that to get yourself going. But all I'm saying is, when it's with a girl, it's a little bit different, because you need to bring in that flirtatious element. You need to bring in these other factors into the thing as well, which you're probably not going to do with the bloke in the bar, unless you're one of my haters on Twitter.
Well, it could be. I mean, why not? If you want to hook up with the bloke at the bar, go ahead. I mean, then pickup will work as well. Do you know how
23 guys, Jesus.
Yeah, what? I mean, Agree and Amplify works great on guys. A little bit of cocky funny. Just throw it out there.
Two skinny dudes podcast. Two anorexic dudes podcast, you mean?
Two
Mate,
white
I was in the gym. You'd have been proud of me this morning, Jack. I was pumping the iron very early on in the gym. 7 o'clock, 7:30 I was there.
No. As people might know, you do work out. You do work out. Like, this is one of the first shows in ages where I'm not wearing a V-neck. I guess I'm already.
Yeah, well, this is just bloke means dude for Americans in the audience. Okay, yeah, there you go. Translation. Yeah.
What is this mate you're talking about? Mate? What's it? Oh, you mean friend? Yeah.
Okay,
speaking of taking the work but taking the credit, Americans and Brits, the language, the whole language was stolen.
It's funny actually, because I think the British generally quite like Americans, or at least we're sort of, kind of ambivalent towards Americans. I feel more sort of not serious, but anti-British sort of joshing and joking around when I go to America. I don't think American people, because, like, for example, when I was in Miami, I can't remember if I told the story. When I was in Miami, I went to meet Pixie, who's the Twitch streamer, friends with Destiny, and this other lady called Amy Dangerfield, who's got a YouTube channel and stuff like that. So I was going to meet them for a bite to eat, and I got to this place Moxie's first, and we had a table for 3 outside. So the waitress shows me to the table, and we get to the table, and there's this bloke, this derelict kind of alcoholic kind of bloke, sitting in one of the chairs. And the waitress says, "Oh, sorry, sir, you'll have to move because we've got customers." And he just sits there like this. So I said, I was like, "Sorry, man, you're gonna have to move because there's 3 of us." And he's like, "Why don't you just sit down here?" And I was like, "No, man, listen, you're gonna have to move because there's 3 of us and we need the seats." So then they call the manager over. So the manager comes over and he starts having a word with this dude. And in the end, the dude kind of gets up and he's like growling. And then he says, fuck that. Fuck the English. We kick their ass.
Jesus Christ.
And you do get a little bit of that. Not in a really serious way, but you do get a little bit of that. You know, we kicked you guys' ass and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, if I can get over it, man.
Being European, I get it all the time from the Americans. Like, we saved your asses in World War II. It's like, yes, thank you. We know.
Get over it, man. Oh, yeah, we came in and saved your ass. Get over it, man. It was ages ago. We're still
I mean, and we're still thriving because of this while your own country is going down the drain kind of thing. Like, have you seen American healthcare? Have you seen it? It's like, oh my God.
I think America's actually one of the most degenerate places I've been to recently, actually. It was just like, I don't know, man. I mean, some of the people in the situations in the States recently, it's just kind of crazy. I needed to come back to Europe just to have a bit of a, you know, just to sort of like decompress a little bit.
Mm-hmm. No, I believe you right away if you say that America is the most degenerate place you've ever been, and you've been to like what's that called?
Pretty degenerate place.
Yeah, you've been to Panama and all that. It's
no,
like,
I haven't been to Panama. I haven't been to Panama. I may visit Panama.
Colombia.
I've been to Colombia. Yeah. No, actually, sorry. I mean, okay, it's not as degenerate as that. It's probably not. It's not as degenerate as Berlin, but it's sort of what I mean. It's degenerate in a different way. Just there's a lot of crazy people there, but I think that's partly because of the nature, you know, being in the industry, you know, like some of the people that we come into contact with.
It's like I said, like because I thought we hadn't done the reputation one about 48 Laws of Power, and I was thinking about that. It's like, always protect your reputation, and there's so many guys on here that build up that reputation of like peak alpha male, look at me and blah, blah, blah. And they get the rug pulled out from under them because something leaks out and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm so happy. I just started out with, no, man, I'm just a loser living in an attic. And I like playing with Legos. It's like when somebody comes with the whole like, Jack Napier's a loser. It's like, yeah, I've been telling you. Like, what do you want? It's like, what do you want, man?
Yeah.
and then meanwhile, like, I don't brag about the accomplishments and I just have them kind of thing. But the guys who like need that as a reputation, you just notice that to feed that ego, to feed that image, they get busted doing all sorts of things.
Well, nobody gets
Well, true, but like, look at, I don't even mind shitting on it in all honesty. Like, look at John Anthony Lifestyles. It's like, dude, you got caught like banging trannies, you know, like do whatever you want, but it's like, is that how far you are willing to go? Jack Murphy, same thing, got caught for weird stuff, you know. It's like, do whatever you want, let your freak flag fly, but it doesn't fit the image.
Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it doesn't fit the image, but also, I mean, particularly with the former, I mean, he just criticizes everybody all the time. You know, and then it's like, oh, well, hang on a minute, you know, you're not quite so squeaky clean yourself. And, but, you know, I mean, the thing with that is that I don't think really anybody cares. And this is what we were saying last time about anti-fragility. I don't think anyone really cares. I mean, theoretically, things like that, you would think, oh, it's almost like a career killing thing. Nobody gives a fuck. You know, all this stuff comes out on the internet. People are just like, oh, and then 2 days later, they're like, oh, yeah, there was that thing, and they forgot about it, you know?
Let me check something real quick. Is Jack Murphy still doing a thing?
But it's a bit, well, actually, no, that'd be interesting, actually, if he's dropped off the face of the nutsack.
I do know he still has a Twitter, but like if you type in his name in YouTube, it's not looking good, man. It's not looking good. It's like it's still it's still all the what happened kind of thing. And so yeah, I think but that's mostly how he went with it, I think. Where he pulled the Christian card, where it's like, you need to forgive me, otherwise you're not a good Christian. It's like, dude, if you would have just sat there and be like, yeah, I'm a total degen. Well, I like to do that on the side. People would have forgiven you.
Well, that's why I quite like Zerka, because I think Zerka at least is sort of like, well, Zerka's got this weird thing because I don't know how much you follow him on Twitter, but he's got this weird thing that he's kind of trying to cover both bases. Because on the one hand, it's all like, yeah, man, Christ is king, and blah blah blah. And then on the other hand, he's living in hotels doing blow and banging hookers or banging teenage girls. So he's kind of sort of almost covering the degenerate base and the Christian base at the same time. But I quite like the degeneracy. I quite like just the open. I mean, he's had videos of himself, which he's posted on X or on Twitter, of him like rolling around in the fucking gutter, like off his face. Fucking brilliant. I said to Tusk, that's what you need to be doing, really. Fuck all this clean cut shit. You need to be like when you're in a fucking. Not that I'm not alleging that James Tusk does drugs, but if you were in that situation, let's just say,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, you should film that and put that and do it and live stream it. Do you know what I mean? Because what I think we realize is the more that we do this is that authenticity is the thing that gives you cut through. You know what I'm saying? Authenticity and basically not giving a fuck. Because really, I mean, Zerka has done the ultimate, really, of making jokes about being a pedo on fucking. I mean, it's unbelievable, really, that you can, and yet he gets away with it, and people think he's funny, and he's got a massive audience. So, the worst taboo that you could joke about. And he gets away with it. So it just shows the kind of the climate that we're living in, where basically outrage and shock and just being fucking funny, it almost cuts through everything, right?
Oh man, like Rob and I, like I'm kind of careful with it because I don't want to nuke my channel and it's like terms of service. But we have made some stereotype jokes, man, and they were super chatted by the people in question, kind of thing, kind of daring us to go farther with it. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, let's be careful with this one. And then we tried to find other words around it to like commit to the terms of service a bit, because and it's kind of like what Tori just said. It's like best course of action when everything goes to shit. Think F and F because of your own decisions. Well, read the terms of service and don't make stupid decisions. To be blunt, where it's like, don't talk about the JQ. Don't do conspiracy theory things too much. Like every now and then you can be like, you know what about that moon landing? I don't know, man. But if you have on Nick Fuentes, sorry, I don't even think we're allowed to say the name. You drop N-bombs and you do the JQ, it's about to happen. You're going to lose monetization. It's just poking the bear too much kind of thing. And then you get the Jerry Springer effect, where you want to be radical for the sake of being radical. And this is why I like guys like Asmund Gold so much, where it's like Asmund Gold flat out admits, he's like, I am an absolute animal to live with. I am absolutely horrible. What would you do to fix it? Oh, that's an interesting
thing. So basically, her point is, what would you actually do? What's the best course of action to take if you fuck everything up?
Full rumble. If they want to go that route, embrace it. Just embrace it. Embrace it fully. Don't go on YouTube saying, oh, YouTube demonetized that. Be like, hey, you know what? We want to go this route. Clearly, YouTube is not our platform. All the best to YouTube. Like, don't burn bridges, but go full rumble.
Well, although I think I agree, but with the caveat that obviously they have got a massive audience on Rumble. So what they can do is use YouTube to sort of trail the shows. In practical terms, they can be like, hey, or they show the first bit on YouTube and then they say, right, we're going to cut it. You've got to come over to Rumble and subscribe. Stuff like that, because they want to try and, drag as many people over to Rumble as they possibly can. But
Tofu, top of the funnel. top of the
funnel.
I
don't, in practical terms, I think they've got a massive audience. They're very, very popular. They get big live stream audiences on Rumble. They've had massive. Actually, when Mr. F was on, they had a massive, live audience. I think when Destiny was on with him. So, I think they'll be okay. But it's what you're saying is prevention's better than a cure, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, just prevention is better than the cure, people. And
but then if the shit does hit the fan, I'm not sure there's one prescription really. You've just got to think, okay, right, I fucked up. This has gone to shit. What is the next right thing that I can do here to try and I think. I don't know if there's any sort of one size fits all prescription.
Also, what I would do, because we kind of made a misstep somewhere. I think I kind of made a misstep somewhere because I brought up Stefan Molyneux.
No,
but Molyneux was completely banned off the platform. He was not just demonetized; he was banned off it. FNF isn't banned. They've gone to Donovan Sharp route. Like, Donovan Sharp has lost monetization so many times. Just hit up Donovan. Like, hey man, like, how did you pull through? How did you get your monetization back? And then X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Oh yeah. So Donovan has been demonetized like nobody knows how many times, and he got it back.
So Torch is saying, I say they get remonetized, clean it up a bit, and get back in the game because they get 100K, 100K a month in super chats. Yeah, I think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense if they can. Like you're saying, Donovan, I don't know. The only thing I know is that I'm demonetized and YouTube are fucking, I don't want to insult our lords and masters here, but they're pretty. I think Fresh and Fit, because they've got an agent and they have people they know in the company. Maybe they can finesse it. I don't know. I think it's a good idea. Maybe they try that. I think they have to wait 90 days and they can reapply. Actually, I heard Myron say. So
Well, exactly. And speaking about always taking the credit. Just take credit for your actions and think to yourself, where do we want to go with this? Like, why did we lose monetization and was it worth it?
So Tori is saying people make mistakes in business all the time. You're on something, try. If you were FNF now, how would you pivot? Would you leave YouTube? I think I don't want to be too much of a fence sitter here, but I think I would probably try and play both at the same time. I think I would very much clean it up on YouTube and see if there's anything I can do to build those bridges. I think I would also be pushing people from YouTube to Rumble and just saying, look, if you want to watch the rest of the stream, come over here. So try and play both at the same time, if that makes sense, and kind of see where it lands. Because if YouTube turn around and say, yeah, all is forgiven, it's fine, come back and just keep your noses clean this time, then great. But if they don't, then I personally, as FNF, I would just carry on with the project. I think I would just carry on Rumble and just like Jack said, then just go full Rumble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go when life gives you lemonades, kind of thing. Play the game. Play the conservative game. We have been.
Put it this way. The Tates have done all right on Rumble, haven't they? But I don't know. I don't know financially. I don't know how much money they're making. I don't know how the super chat thing works on Rumble. But they're certainly, in terms of audience.
In all honesty, I watched a little bit of the Rumble live stream of Fresh and Fit. After the video got dropped, they got demonetized, and already they were having a grand or two in super chats of that one show that was only running for 30 minutes. So I truly think they will be fine.
Well, they're not short of a bob or two, I don't think. But yeah, just in terms of, but what interests me is, and we were talking about this before, like Odyssey versus Rumble, these competing platforms. How big can Rumble get? Because what I'm kind of hoping, and this is for my own selfishness as much as anything else, I'm sort of hoping that, Rumble's probably never, like you said, YouTube is YouTube and it's Google and it's never gonna, it's always probably gonna be there in some form. But if we can make Rumble a really serious contender, where it's a really okay, actually, alternative content creators, you're saying stuff that's a bit edgy, Rumble is the place to go. And it starts to attract big audiences. To me, that seems great, Because I'll be over there like a rat up a drain pipe, because as I say, I mean, my YouTube is a bit, is demonetized. I'm probably a little bit shadow banned over here for that reason. So if there was an alternative platform for video and for streaming that's actually pretty good and you get a lot of people coming into it, great. I think there should be. The problem at the moment is that it's a bit of a monopoly with YouTube, isn't it?
Well, here's my question to you. How big do you need it to be?
I haven't had any complaints, Jack.
Oh, well, good girth. But how large of a platform do you need it to be? It's like the 1,000 real followers concept.
No, I agree with that as well. So that's another thing, because if you look at, did we talk about this last? Probably, but if you look at people like MLD, who is now at about 200,000 subs, but before he was only a bit ahead of me before, and then he sort of exponentially grew.
But also he has I don't even know how many people on his mailing list. You have, I don't know how many people on your Telegram group. That's also a funnel.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I've got some different things. I mean, as you know, I try to funnel a lot of people over to my email list because email marketing is still, pretty effective. But the point is that, John, in terms of, if you're looking at money, if you're just looking at, okay, can I make some money to take home and buy some cool stuff with? MLD was making a shitload of money. I mean, he actually sent me the other day. He actually sent me what he's made over the last few years. He was making a shitload of money. Even 2-3 years ago or whatever. So, and Tusk as well makes, good money from a channel that's about 30. Well, maybe he's at 35,000 now, but we're not talking massive channels in the big scheme of things. I make decent. I'm not making tape money, but I make decent money from a channel that's 20,000. It's enough to make a sustainable career and to have money to put away and stuff. So you're right in that sense. Do you have to be fresh and fit? Do you have to have 1.4 million subscribers? Probably not, really. It kind of depends. But there again, you see, there's always the sort of, in the back of my head is always the idea, well, the bigger I get, the more people I can pull in. So therefore, the more money I can probably make. And there's probably a bit of an ego thing about it as well, a bit of a vanity thing.
Yeah, I don't have that. I have that so little where it's like, I need to prove my ego to the rest of the stream. I'm like, fuck him.
No, that's healthy.
I'm going to watch Barbie, by the way, and I will probably enjoy it.
I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it.
From what I've heard, I'm just so excited that it's a movie that isn't about politics or white man bad or racist this or racist
Barbie is about those things.
Well, not really.
Barbie is about white man bad. That's the whole point of the movie, isn't it?
Well, apparently not. Oh. Apparently, it's a character arc for Ken. Apparently, it's about Ken figuring out he doesn't need Barbie. It's like, oh my god, the hero's journey. It's like, finally.
I need to watch it because I don't know. I mean, when I was on that Access Vegas, Mike Sartain, that he was like, right, the first topic of conversation is Barbie, and I was like, oh fuck, I haven't seen it. How do I contribute to this? But he had a pretty dim view of it. He seemed to think it was bashing men, but I need to sit down and watch it for myself, which I would like to do. I just haven't got around to doing it yet.
I'll probably watch it this weekend. Probably. Depends. Depends on what time she arrives tomorrow. She's up for it.
I like the way is she just like she's choosing a flight like it's like a Greyhound bus or something. It's just like, oh yeah, but although to be fair, that's kind of what I did when I came back to Europe. I deliberately missed my flight back from Miami, and then I just sort of booked another flight the day before to come back to London. So
no, this was a check-in issue. She went to the airport, and they were like, okay, like this is kind of like our fault as well. We'll give you the next. We'll give you the same flight the day after, and everything.
Okay.
So everything's fine.
Jack has no ego. Barbie's a well-made film. Oh, interesting. Okay, he saw Barbie yesterday with his girl. Lots of RP stuff in there, and even in the theater, how women reacted to the movie. No, I will definitely go and see it.
But this is also like one of those small things where we were talking about, like enjoyment. There's so little enjoyment in parts of this space where it's like, no, you need to be a begrudging, scowled face, evil alpha male, or it's like, what happened to fun? It's called game for a reason. You saw that small little clip I retweeted of that couple that was walking down the street, and all of a sudden the guy just does a kung fu stance with her, and she goes with him, and they like fake kung fu in the streets.
I think
they just laughed their ass off. It's like it was so wholesome. It was so much fun.
I think, yeah, people take this stuff. People take all this stuff very seriously, and that's one of the main things that always annoys me with the trad people. Actually, is they're so fucking boring and po-faced about everything. You know, that's why I like Zerka, because I mean, one of the criticisms I would have of the Red Pill space before the advent of Zerka, and also to be fair, Destiny to some extent, because he came in and kind of shook things up a little bit. I think there was a little bit of a time when it was all sort of like a bunch of well-built, besuited men sitting around slapping each other on the back and smoking cigars and congratulating each other on their Lambos. And it was sort of a little bit, isn't there more to it than this? I mean, that's great if that's the archetype you want, but is that the only path? You know?
Oh, no. I mean, like, you have having fun, and then you have having fun turned up to 12, where all you have is fun, kind of thing, and there's nothing substantial about it. Know what I'm saying? Like, all you're watching is to be blunt, all you're watching is a dancing clown, and clowns aren't funny. Like, at a certain point, you kind of want nachos with your cheese, as Rollo used to say. You want steak with the sizzle.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Fuentes seems to be like the sort of avenging angel who's going around and basically killing the whole Red Pill movement, because
no. In all honesty, it's not even the end boy. It's the people who invite him on who do it themselves. In all honesty, I have no pity for people who brought him on. Like, none. It's all like, stop shooting yourself in the foot. Really, it's like these people grab a hammer and bash themselves in the face and blame the hammer. It's like, no, man, you're holding it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But he was on Valuetainment, actually. They got him on Valuetainment, and I haven't even watched it yet. I need to watch it at some point, but I think Valuetainment seemed to have been unscathed by it. I need to watch that episode, because Adam, actually, from Valuetainment he's a good guy. I mean, I like him, and he's a good host as well. He's very people say that he's too soft, but I think he can actually control the room quite well. So be interesting to see how he handled it. But they seem to have been the only ones who've kind of had him on, and there's not been some major kind of explosion off the back of it.
He was on Joe Rogan a while back. That was interesting to listen to. No, no.
Adam.
Patrick, blah, 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 something. The guy from Valuetainment. Yeah. That was pretty interesting, because Rogan just sits there like, oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, tell me. Right. It's like that meme of like him where it's like, what was it again? Like, Joe Rogan is like Genghis Khan, who brings forward all the most intelligent people towards him. And it's like, you smart man, explain to me why Bo works.
Well, yeah. Well, Tusk always says, you know, Chris Williamson. So Modern Wisdom podcast.
Oh, him. Yeah.
So the British guy. So Tusk always says about it. The thing with him is he's done the same thing, basically. He was on Love Island. You know, he was like a Love Island contestant. Now, you know, obviously very intelligent, articulate guy, very thoughtful, very, you know, interested in the workings of the world and stuff like that. But he was basically some dude off Love Island, which for the American viewers is a, you know, reality show that we have here with a bunch of hot people on a beach fucking each other. And he came from that to becoming this sort of, you know, this sort of figurehead, you know, discussing philosophy with people and so on. But really, all he did, and it's very clever, was just get a bunch of very intelligent, articulate people onto his show and kind of allowed them to shine. So you become the sort of the front man for this, like, okay, and now here's Jordan Peterson, and you know, it's not reflected glory exactly, but you're kind of just, you're lining up the talents, and they bring the attention to you, and it kind of, I mean, for him, it's worked incredibly well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, go for it, kind of thing. But like Modern Wisdom, how do I phrase this politely without being blunt? He stays in his lane, which is smart. Where it's like, I don't need the excitement, I don't need the like flaming red tits, sort of say. I don't need the clout. He just has interesting people on. He talks with them, and that's it.
He's pretty. I mean, I quite like him for for what it's worth. I mean, he seems pretty unassuming. He doesn't seem to be like a massively egotistical dude. He seems pretty down to earth. Me and Tusk actually were in contact with him a while back because we were trying to do something with him, and we were emailing and stuff, and he was emailing us some things, but never ended up happening. And it's one of those things. I don't know if we lost the moment because he's got so big now that it's a bit like I'm not sure he would dirty his hands with us now, but. Because we wanted to do a show with him talking about some of the dating coach stuff and the realities, pushing back on some of the black pill people and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the black.
Maybe it can. I don't know. Maybe it can happen. So what background did he have in nightlife, Tory?
I think he was a promoter then, or bar guy. A bartender. Sorry.
Yeah.
My English is failing sometimes. I'm good.
He's based.
Research
some quite good stuff on Twitter. Actually, he's really interested in all the sexual marketplace stuff, isn't he? And he sort of
yes, but to a degree where I'm like, it's not actionable, and there's a lot I see with. Again, this is just me saying this. Like, who am I in this case? And I see a lot of. They take red pill data points, and that's it. It's like, oh, this is red pill. It's a data point. No. TRP is here's a data point, how you deal with it. But what most of these guys do is like, here's the data point, here's the data point, here's the data point. Men are screwed because 80% of men are not deemed attractive. It's like, finish the damn quote. Finish the damn quote.
But, doesn't he try to offer a bit more hope than that? I don't know. I mean, I haven't followed his content closely enough recently, so maybe I shouldn't comment. But doesn't he try to offer a bit more of a sort of no, because I've listened to a couple of podcasts he's done, and they're really good. And he's basically saying, look, a load of black pill people, for example, think this, but actually things aren't as bad as that. And why are men thinking this stuff when actually, if they were taking action, they would be in a better position? I think, I don't know.
Yeah, but what kind of action? Where it's like, hope is a horrible strategy. And
well, that's where we come in. That's you see, the only reason I came into any of this nonsense in the first place was from because I'm coming from quite an old school angle with this stuff, which is, all right, how do I get laid, basically, or to be less crude about it, how do I meet women, how do I optimize my dating life? That was the whole point of this content years ago, when it was Torero and RSD and whoever. Then it morphed into the red pill stuff. The red pill stuff is fascinating, and you need to know about it, and it's interesting to talk about. But ultimately, it's like, okay, so women are hypergamous. Some women have the propensity to cheat. Not everyone is going to cheat, but it does happen. Bloody, bloody, blah. Look at the divorce rate. Okay, so what do you do about that? How do you navigate it? And I think that's what sometimes, and that's where the dating coach thing comes in, because it's like, well, use these methods, travel around the world, do this and that, and you can have an amazing dating life. So it's offering a solution. I've always been more interested in the solutions than I am in the problem.
Well, same here. But then I hear advice like, well, since the divorce rate is 70%, you need to find a wholesome woman. Like, garbage. Well,
that's garbage. But this is why sometimes when I go on those podcasts, it's like sometimes you get people in the chat like, oh, Troy's like, he's a beater. He's like kissing up to the women and stuff like that. And I'm not. It's just that, and actually sometimes I try and be a bit more spicy just to get some clips. But it's not really that I'm pandering to women or anything. It's just that I don't really give a fuck. Like I don't really care enough to be berating some Miami OnlyFans girl about her life choices. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't give a fuck. If you want to be on OnlyFans, fucking great.
Well, and
it's up to you. Make bank. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is how can I and the people that I work with have the best dating experience they can? Probably by not dating her, but that's another matter.
Well, exactly. That's something Nuke and I talk about, because he was like on Purple Pill podcast, and Sergio's a bit of a no, I won't say it, but Nuke told me like they were having a great conversation with the women, and some of them had an OnlyFans, or they were in the industry, like the industry. And Nuke was just like, okay, so how's that like? Blah, blah, blah. Just showing genuine interest, like wanted to get to know her and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden she gets kicked off. It's like, why did you do that? Like, we were just having a normal conversation. Oh, she's not a wholesome woman. It's like, she doesn't need to be. She doesn't need to be, kind of thing. And that's where that's what I like a lot about where Post Zero is going now, where it's just like, don't shame them for whatever. If she wants to make back, go ahead and make back. Like, am I dating you? No. Am I going to? No. But you can do whatever you want.
This is where it becomes this sort of, there's these sort of opposing worldviews about what should be done about the problem of the modern dating marketplace. And a lot of people, you've got the trads, but then you've got people who aren't necessarily trads, but they fundamentally think, okay, things are broken and women's behavior is causing a lot of this stuff. So women need to be called out on their behavior, because then maybe they'll see the error of their ways and they'll change. And it's for women's benefit as well. So you've got the people who kind of think that. And then you've got me, and possibly you as well, Jack, who are sort of sitting over on the other side going, well, I don't really give a fuck. I just want to get I just want to, you know, I just want to kind of enjoy the decline, really.
I'm here to get mine.
Exactly.
I'm not here to provide others theirs. Like, I'll give you advice. It's there. Like, I have a whole chat. I had guys hit me up in the DMs. It's like, thanks to your videos, I lost 20 pounds.
What, money? What, buying your...
No. Not the British quid, like body fat or body weight. And I'm like, that is some of the best compliments I have ever gotten. Guy who lost 2 shirt sizes just for following either my YouTube advice or were in my coaching program. And I'm like, well, those are the guys I love to help. But don't come at me and be like, oh, we have an obesity epidemic and you should fix it. It's like, no, fuck them. Like, you want to stuff your face full with garbage? Go ahead.
But then there is
here.
Sorry, Karen.
Well, I'll just be sitting here doing my own thing, leading by example. And if you want, I'm here. But I'm not going to get you.
Well, there was a sort of slightly heated conversation going on in my Telegram group the other day, because I've got some guys in there who kind of like, oh, you know, it's the world's going to shit and Western civilization is dying and we need to make a stand and all that. And I'm like, well, but how are you going to do that exactly? You know? And somebody made the argument, which I've heard before, that saying enjoy the decline, you basically said it's a cowardly thing to say. It's a cowardly, nihilistic, you know, throwing in the towel kind of a thing to say. You know, why should we just accept this? And my response to that is, I think, twofold. Firstly, I don't think actually things are as bad as people say. I mean, you hear about all this collapse of Western civilization stuff on Twitter, and then you walk out the house and there's some crime problems in London. I mean, you know, shit happens, but by and large, you know, things seem okay to me, right? I mean, the worst problems here are to do with the cost of living crisis and inflation and all of that shit. Not really, you know, the trans movement or gay pride or I don't know, feminism. It's not; those aren't the main problems. I don't think. Not from how I see it anyway. But secondly, what are you going to fucking do about it anyway? You know, if you're some bloke who's like, oh, I'm going to resist. It's like, nobody gives a fuck, dude. You know, you're a drop in the ocean.
Well, exactly. And that's kind of my perspective on the whole FNF thing. Again, like Myron and Walter, I don't know them personally. I do wish them the best. But it's like, this whole situation, how does this help me? The only thing I learned from this is don't do JQ, don't drop an N-bomb, and especially don't invite on the F-boy. That's what I learned from it. That's my advice. Yeah, it's like, don't do it. Just don't. That's what I learned from it, and boom. But like Cappy, enjoyed the decline. Great book, helped me a lot. I still apply that advice.
Well, Tori makes a good point here, which is men
want to do the super chat first, by the way.
Sorry,
want to do the super chat first?
Sorry. Do you want to take that actually? Because I just need to step aside for a minute.
Yeah, I'll do it. Marriage causes divorce. Well, living causes dying. Is a 50-year marriage realistic, healthy in 2023? Well, it depends. If you were married in 1973, then yes, it's realistic. And if you're still alive, it's pretty healthy if you're thin. So, yeah. But other than that, I don't know. It depends. In all honesty. Could you get married and still be together for 50 years? Well, if you live that long, yeah. You can. Depends on what you want with marriage, in all honesty. Like, stop looking at the divorce rates. It gives you an implication of what could happen. Could. Like, all women are like that. All women could be like that. All marriages could be like that. But if you go in already with the presumption that she's going to divorce me, rape me anyway. First of all, then don't have anything she can divorce rape you with. That's number one. Second, why even go into a serious something with somebody, if you don't want to get married, tell her right away, like, I don't want to get married, kind of thing. But if you really want to, and I've said this before, if you really want to, and you have set up your boundaries, like the boundaries you want, you have made your, I don't know if they're virtues. Are they virtues? Like your life observations, if you made them well known and you have not, you're not trading them in, sort of say, like you're not giving an inch on that, where it's like, no, this is my conviction. If you're not, like, if you don't agree with it, you be you, but this is me, I'm going to do that. Fine. Then sure. But it's all up to you. Like, do you want to get married? Yes or no? If you don't, then don't. If you do, then do. If you do, be smart about it. Know the laws, etc., and know why you're getting married. Like, do you really want to commit to this person where it's like closed on your end, closed off her end? And I've said this on the previous show I did with Troy, where it's like, look, if you're going to get married and real other people anyway, then why get married other than like legal and tax reasons? Could be the reason, but be honest about that. And then don't like promote your marriage as like the pinnacle of marriagedom. And especially don't listen to podcasters who tell you what you should do. It's all up to you.
Well, I mean, this guy here is saying, I can't imagine, OMG, I can't imagine being married for 50 years. And I mean, you know, effectively, putting aside all the legal ramifications of it and everything, what you're effectively saying is you're signing a contract that, you know, that's the only person you're ever going to fuck again for the next half century, which, you know, fair enough. If that's what you want, that's what you want. You know, people fall in love. I get it. But is that really in accord with our nature?
I think monogamy is indeed a choice, but it is a choice motivated by, first of all, desires and is it fulfillment? Gratification. So, as we all know, men tend to wander, blah, blah, blah. Like our eyes wander, whatever. We just do that. It's in our nature, you know, it's a feature, not a bug. But if the woman at home takes care of us, then our eyes might wander, but we're like, well, I've got a good thing going at home. Like, I've got a good thing going at home. Like, my needs are met.
Well, look, I mean, I've certainly been in relationships where with women where it's been like, look, I'm not interested. I don't want to fuck with anyone. You know, I don't want to meet anyone else because actually I've got steak at home. Like, I have genuinely felt that. Like, I've got steak at home. I don't want to fuck around with anybody else. This is good enough, and that's fine. But then it's easy. It's very easy to feel like that in the kind of the honeymoon period, or certainly for the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I think it gets tricky after that. I don't know. It's kind of weird because when you're in that relationship, you can think that and you can believe that, but then you step away from it and you're like, really? I don't know.
There's a video on my channel with is it Nuke and I? Yeah, Nuke and I discussing the same thing. Why do marriages fail? And I am a huge advocate, a huge one, for the fact that most marriages fail because people get out of shape. Because this is something that heavily correlates. Like 70% of marriages fail. How many people are obese? Would you want to divorce a hot wife? A hot American wife? Would you want to divorce that? Or would she want to divorce you if you were a hot Dutch man? Like, if you could stay hot, I think the physical part, like sex is the glue that holds the relationship together. Well, I think you'd be fine. But a majority of people is obese. It's like, of course you don't want to be with them.
Yeah, there's something in that. There is something in that. Although, unfortunately, I still think variety is the spice of life, though. I mean, you've heard the old thing, haven't you? For every beautiful woman out there, there's a man who's tired of fucking you. Which is, you know, it's kind of a bit cynical and everything, but there's a certain amount of truth in it, unfortunately. You know, when you played hide the sausage, you know, a few hundred times, it's not that it gets old, but it sort of, you can't replicate that novelty, unfortunately. And I think human beings, maybe men a bit more, but probably women as well. I think we want these two things. I think we want security and we want novelty. And it's kind of hard. And that's why people start doing, you know, dressing up in stupid, you know, fetish costumes.
I was just about to say that's why we invented wigs. to be blunt.
Or even worse, they start going to swingers parties or that kind of shit. Oh, let's spice it up. Well, why does it need to be spiced up? Well, because
I have thought long and hard about that question, because it was being a thing, and I'm like, am I into that? Through all my girlfriends, through all the women I've dated, would I be into swinging, switching her up with somebody else and she switches me up? And I can 100% guarantee you I am not. I am so fucking territorial when it comes to that. It's nope. Nope. Call it jealous, call it mate guarding, call it whatever. And I wouldn't even act on it, on the person. I would just leave. It's nope. Done.
It's certainly, it's certainly not my bag, really. I think if I was in something that was kind of close with somebody, to then have them stepping out and Lena the plugging it, I think I just can't ever see that working for me personally. But and the Destiny thing as well. I'm sure he's getting plenty of action with his young streamer groupies and things, but still, if you're married to this woman and you presumably love her and everything, to have her fucking other dudes is just it doesn't seem anything that I would want to do. But like I said, I'd rather just stay single, to be honest, because if you want the variety, and the problem is they're trying to make a trade, not those individuals specifically, but people are trying to make a trade-off of okay, well, we can have a bit of stability because we come home to each other, but then we get the variety over here as well. I just don't. I can't see that working long term. Personally, I don't know. Maybe
let me counter that. Since I have a past as well. Like I said, I'm one of the reformed. I have hit my epiphany phase.
You've sat in the Lincoln chair?
No. Like epiphany phase. I'm over 30 kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I got tired of that as well. Where it's you do the same thing as blah blah blah, you do the same, and it's a stranger and it's variety, but continuous variety without security also gets kind of boring, in my humble opinion.
That is also true, and that's the criticism that gets leveled at me, because then people are like, oh, doesn't it get old, Troy, and you're going to be a lonely old man and you're just chasing blah blah blah, and they're right, they're not wrong, they're right. But I also don't see the alternative as being Nirvana either.
Well, exactly. I mean? And that's the interesting part, where you and I are not trying to convince one another of each other's right, but more sharing perspectives kind of thing. Because I don't need to be right in this. Absolutely not. I'm just sharing my experience, where it's well, that got tiring for me.
Yeah. No, I think it does. It does get tiring to the extent that, I've said many times over the last year or so, I kind of take or leave dating to some extent these days. I like to, obviously I like to meet people, I like to get laid, and from time to time, but it's not that it's got old, but it's like the white hot intensity of that urge to do it has definitely gone. I'm just whatever. I'm happy to go home and have a nice cup of Earl Grey and listen to the radio.
It's like you, Nuke, and I said, where it's when she cancels and you're happy you can play video games, kind of thing, or read a book, or whatever you do at your age. I don't know, put your feet up, watch Love Island,
smoke a pipe.
But, I tried watching Love Island. I can't get through it. Just can't. It's oh my God.
I've been watching. There's a reality show on at the moment, which you might quite. I don't know if you like it or not, really, but celebs go dating. So they've got these British celebrities, and they send them on dates and things like that. And it a little bit like the dinner. What was it? What's the one that you used to talk about? The one where they go to dinner together and you see the date.
Oh, First Dates. Yes.
Yeah. So a little bit like that. And I'd like to clip bits of this and do commentary, but I don't know if it's. I think it'll get taken down. I don't think you can do it on YouTube, but. There was a really bad date I watched the other night with this celebrity and this regular person, and they were on this date, and it was just fucking hell, it's so bad. So instructive, some of this stuff to watch. Because the guy was a older female celebrity, and there was this guy who was about 53, and he'd come on the date with her, and he was just such a fucking flannel. And you could see her just she was like literally looking at her phone at the end. And then she walked out early. His chat was so fucking bad. And it's like, this is a masterclass in how not to be on a date.
That's horrible. That's horrible. I will never forget, there was a British one as well, where there was a British soldier who was at the Battle of Arnhem. Okay. I don't know if you know your World War II history, but the Battle of Arnhem was not pretty. That was one of the toughest battles in Europe in World War II, like right in the Netherlands. That guy fought there, shot literal Nazis. The guy went on the date, and he's like, I couldn't imagine a woman liking me. It's like, dude, you are a war hero. You saved Europe from a dictatorship, and you can't imagine a woman loving you? It's like, beta is a mindset. Beta is a mindset, man. It's like, damn. That just hit hard for me, where I was like, you have accomplished one of the greatest features. Well, not alone, of course, but like, you were there. Like, you were having that weight on your shoulders. Like, if we lose here, Europe is lost.
Yeah.
And he thinks that low of himself. Like, what the hell? I will never forget that.
Wow. Yeah. It's crazy, really. I mean, but you know, we've taught guys who were in the military and all that kind of stuff, and they've stepped into a hail of bullets before and fine, but to go and approach a pretty girl is still intimidating, you know. Tori says we need to talk about how marriage benefits men. It's specifically corporate America. Men get more promotions if they hear a man is married, so men will rush to get married for respect at work. I do vaguely. I sort of had a bit of experience of this, because I remember when I was working at this corporate place, and I was sort of playing the field, and I was sort of known for a little bit as well, because you could get away with. I don't know if I was a bit more vocal about it. I was like, yeah, when I met this girl, blah blah blah, you know, and so people kind of knew that I was a bit of a philanderer. But I just got the sense that it probably wasn't. And I remember getting kind of more serious with this girlfriend, and I sort of dropped it into conversation with my boss, because on some level I kind of knew that. I thought it would impress the management that I was sort of, oh, you know, Troy's now finally, you know, he's starting to be a bit more responsible, settle down, all that kind of thing. The way to get out of that is obviously not being in corporate life, and then you can just fuck around and be a degenerate bachelor until you're 90.
Yeah, I mean, like, you've probably experienced that in corporate, like people stealing your work and things like that, or not even people stealing your work, but like people being perceived better even though their work was lesser, just for social status. At least that's what I've seen in corporate. It's like, depending on your status at the office, your work could be absolute garbage compared to some other people, but if you have brown-nosed the correct people, you're fine. You're going to be fine.
So I think at a certain age, men don't have the energy for variety. I would never say that publicly, because feminists run with it. Yeah. I know what you mean. I think guys do slow down for sure. And I mean, I'm in my 40s and I've slowed down, and I'm not even, you know, pretty old, but I'm not that old. So, but I know guys in their 50s. I was in New York. The last video on my channel is of a guy I taught in New York recently, and he's 63, and he still wants to get out there and, you know, get jiggy with it. So I think you slow down, but I don't know if it ever entirely goes away. I think I could certainly, you know, I think like anybody, I could certainly see myself. You get to a certain age and you think, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm kind of happy with, you know, Samantha here. I'm just gonna, you know, get the pipe and slippers out. I could definitely see that, but I think that little niggle for, because I know another guy in his 60s who basically is sold up in Canada, and he's traveling the world now and just, you know, meeting different birds and having a good time. So I don't know, man. Yeah, I know what Tori means here, but I wonder when it comes. Is it 70? You know, is it?
Well, it's a matter of perspective. All of this, like
what you need to do, Jack, is like me. Just get on the tren. If you're doing like 3,000 milligrams of tren every week, then you know you're banging like a rabid 19-year-old.
I don't feel a day over 21, sir. Till this day, I don't.
No, you're fine, but you know, I mean,
I know. Can you imagine me on tren? It's like, holy shit.
In all seriousness, Tusk has been really banging on. That's why I'm getting my bloods done and stuff today, because Tusk has been banging on for ages about this hormonal stuff. And I think it does make a difference. I mean, I'm not saying get onto TRT so that you can, shag around in your 50s or whatever. But I think that kind of thing, it definitely, the reason that men slow down is because their testosterone starts to dip. And probably there's, it's more complicated than that. There's other hormonal things. But if you can optimize hormonally, I think you can probably keep the party going for longer.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm a big advocate for at least doing a blood test when you're 40. And then if it is if it is beneficial, not medical advice, but let's say I would do a blood test at 40, because now I'm not even thinking about TRT. In all honesty, I'm still young. I feel great. 9 times out of 10, I do drink a shitload of coffee, a lot. But so TRT for me isn't like interesting. But when I'm 40, I might, just for health reasons alone, even though I feel great, where it's like, I know I'm 40, like just check it. And then I probably go on it where it's like, yeah, no, this is health reasons. It's like,
yeah, for sure. I used to not believe in attachment theory, but I actually think men are operating avoidantly and women anxiously. Well, I'm certainly pretty avoidant these days, more than I used to be, I think.
Typically, I'm more avoidantly, she says. Typically, yeah.
There you go. What is anxious attachment? Is that being like, oh my God, does he like me? Does he not like me?
Yeah, but I mean, you love women for it. Like, and I kind of had to learn this the hard way. There are certain female behaviors. Now, let's be honest here. As a man, you're kind of like pulling your hair out, where it's like, how do I deal with this? And then you learn how to deal with it, and you're kind of like, yeah, it's women. Yeah, it's just women.
So this is the $1 million question, isn't it? Troy, do you want kids? I think if you know you don't want them, settling down doesn't matter greatly, but I think regret will sneak up later, which for men isn't the worst because the clock is slower. Basically, no, not really. And the reason I'm so hesitant about it is it seems like I'm not like an Aaron Clary figure where I'm just like, yeah, I'm 25, I don't want kids, I'm going to get the snip. I've never been like that. But also, I've never been like this amazingly paternal guy of like, oh my God, I can't wait till one day those screaming babies are keeping me up all night. I've never been like that either. So I think I'm probably tending more towards no. But I do agree. I mean, and then you can say, well, I'm leaving the door open then for regret when I am older, which is you're right. But I mean, all I can say about that is I think I'm probably now, because of my life and the way things have shaped up and the choices I've made, I think I'm veering more towards no now. And that obviously does change things very significantly for me, because it means that whereas a lot of dudes are like, I need to find a high quality woman so I can, like, I don't necessarily have those concerns if I'm not looking for this. So it does make things a lot different for me, for sure. Regret, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. It could happen, but I'm not the youngest chicken in the coop now. And it's like, if I died tomorrow, would I be regretful? No, probably not. I've had a pretty good run.
I mean, I like Zachary Moore's comment.
What?
I'd rather regret not having kids than regret having them. There used to be like in Married Red Pill, you'd be shocked how many guys there were who regretted having kids. It's not talked about a lot, but it's like, oh, you're gonna regret not having kids. It's no. Let's talk about the guys who regret having kids. That is horrible. They resent their children even.
I think there are Reddits for exactly that. People who are like to sort of basically spout, vent about the fact that they regret having their kids, which is a horrendous thing. But sadly, I'm probably shooting blanks now anyway, so problem solved.
Problem solved. Hey, you're on TRT, man. They might spring back up. Might come alive again.
I don't know how it really affects it, but is there anything short of TRT that prevents slowdown? Don't know. Tuna fish? Kale?
Working out? Red meat? Walking? A lot of walking.
Talking to attractive young women. Apparently spikes testosterone.
Yeah.
Smoking cigars.
I used to make that joke all the time. It's like, Jack, how do you keep looking so young? It's like, I don't date over 25. They looked at me like, what the hell did you say? It's like, just to rile people up. But it's like, even Watson, my best friend, used to do that, where his brother had a girlfriend. She was like, why don't you have a girl and blah, 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 and this and that. And he's like, because I keep dating 19-year-olds. And she was like 33 or something. She lost her shit. She just lost her shit. Like, how can you say that? And you're blah, 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 blah. Like, at a certain point, you have to do it for the lulz, you know? Like, you're not even that serious, but you know people's reactions, so you're going to exaggerate. It's like the Milo effect.
How do you mean? Pretend to be gay?
No, the Milo effect is be so outrageous, you're going to get a reaction. Like, what is old is new again. What we're seeing now in this space, it's all Milo Yiannopoulos. All of them are just Milo Yiannopoulos. And as soon as the election is over, you're not going to hear from these people again.
Avoidant. When a man is avoidant, they desperately act like genuine desire. So avoidant men take that to keep her interested. Like avoidant men believe in dread. Dr. Glover coined it first. I was in this situation actually with a girl a couple of years back, and it was unfortunately, I mean, I don't know, man. It's sort of not painful to look back on, but kind of a bit sad to look back on. I mean, I don't know if I behaved in the best way, but basically, there was this girl. I was sort of seeing her, and I was kind of into her, but I wasn't fully into her. Do you know what I mean? And I was also being like super avoidant, not because I was doing it deliberately to be manipulative or anything. It was just that was how my behavior was manifesting. And she was like very, very, I think, you know, what we talk about here, anxious attachment around me. And it all got very messy in the end, you know? It's not a nice dynamic to be in. I don't think on either side, really. So, yeah. Because unfortunately, I think what happens is, and for men and women, the thing that you want, if you can't quite get the thing, you want it more, you know?
That is something I do want to bring up, but I don't know with who, because it's a bit of a touchy subject, but abandonment issues. Like, I want to do a podcast about abandonment issues, but I don't know with whom.
We can do it with me if you want.
We could. I think you'd be a good choice because like they're like abandonment issues like stem from, let's be honest here, they stem from a bad childhood.
Well, you know something. We've discussed our backgrounds, haven't we? So
yeah, it's like, thanks, Mom. This bitch. But there's a lot, because I've seen a lot of like own your shit posts of guys. And it's all her. It's all she. And it all stems from that fear of losing her, that fear of being abandoned. And I'm like, this stems from something, because I've been there. Where it's like you start acting out of a fear of losing somebody. And as soon as you do that, you're going to lose them. As soon as you start acting on the fear of loss, you're going to lose them.
Yeah, and actually, so what happened with me is it's kind of really interesting when I look at my dating history, because back in the day, and particularly actually when I was drinking as well, because for me, drink actually for some reason seemed to amplify my neediness. I don't know why. It probably doesn't affect. I don't think it affects everyone like that, but for me, it kind of did. So I had a couple of girlfriends and I was very needy around them, and it ended up, you know, as a fucking disaster. And then I stopped drinking, and I was also learning more about game, and I was going out having more experiences, and now getting a bit older as well. Slowly, my avoidance really, really started to ramp up, because I'm just like, don't really give that much of a fuck. I've got abundance anyway, whatever. And so now I'm this ridiculously kind of avoidant character, and what the effect that has is that it seems to draw women to me more, and the women that are drawn to me seem to want to hang around for longer, you know. And it's not because I'm doing some amazing game strategy. It's just like naturally just how I am. Because if you're not that fucking bothered, they can sense that, and they're like, oh, what, you know, and they want to kind of lock you down, and you're like, no.
No, but it's like, that's one of the big reasons I stopped drinking, because like my reaction to it is very mood dependent. But I know that as soon as certain topics come up, when I have like had a couple of drinks, it just goes downhill. So I'd rather.
Are you stopped entirely, or just more or less?
I drink maybe twice a year.
Okay.
Maybe. And then it's like one drink. 1 or 2 drinks. Like Watson's birthday, he had a bottle of double Black Label and he wanted to share one. I'm like, sure. And on my birthday, I didn't even have one this year for my birthday. My birthday this year was absolute garbage. I was like, God damn it. But like those occasions, and then it's like only once or twice every year.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
But I used to, Jesus Christ, a friend of mine once wondered, like, how are you still standing? Because I had like finished one full bottle of like Bacardi something and a bottle of scotch for the entire evening. And he's like, how are you standing? I'm like, sheer force of will. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. No, I've not drunk for a long time, and it's not really a good look on me. But it's had some peripheral side benefits. The neediness being one thing, less emotional, more stoic, as somebody said in the chat, and also health reasons as well.
Yeah, it's like I at a certain point woke up and I remembered half of what I did, and I'm like, do I want to be remembered like that? Like talk about legacy here. Do I want to be remembered as that guy? Like, what if one night it goes wrong? I will be remembered as that guy. And I just didn't want that. And then I just stopped. And that's when I started to notice how many people are actually miserable. That, like, I think, like, since Tori used to work in a bar, she can attest to this. And maybe you too, because, like, you've been in the nightlife a lot and you don't drink.
I also used to work in bars, actually, back in the day.
Oh, nice. Nice. But how many people drink as a coping mechanism? Holy hell. Yeah. Whether we're half drunk and we're walking towards me, he's like, hey, Jack, good to see you. It's like, well, finally weekend. Monday starts with the shit job again. And, well, if I can just keep this up, I don't have to go home to my nagging girlfriend. And then you meet them 5 years later and they married the nagging girlfriend.
Like, So here's the thing, right? So in England, as people may well know, there's a very big drinking culture. I mean, there's a big drinking culture here. You know, I had somebody came over from Berlin recently, and he was like walking around. He was like, "I can't. You guys are out in the pubs, like they're all drinking at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday or something." And it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a big drinking culture here. And I think what happens, from my observation, is that it goes. So in that corporate culture, which, to be honest, I don't think anybody really likes. Or at least maybe some people like. I don't know, but I think for the most part, people sort of just accept it. Oh, I've got to do this corporate job, but they fucking hate it. So then they go out and drink all the time, and then they're recovering from their hangover, or they're drunk the whole time, so they don't have any impetus to change their life, and then they're just locked into this fucking thing, and then they probably just end up, they'll meet somebody in the office, they're not getting married to her because that's the thing you do. They drink more, and the whole thing just. It's just a horrible, sorry mess of sort of wasted opportunity, really. We were at a concert recently. We went to see Depeche Mode. Me and a friend went to see Depeche Mode at Twickenham. Nice. And there was a couple of dudes, one of whom I'd vaguely met before because they used to work in the same industry as me. And one of this dude, I mean, I don't know how old he was. He's probably in his 50s, probably a bit older than me, but fucking hell, man, he looked fucking rough. I mean, I say rough in the sense he put on weight. He was just like flat, like when guys start to look feminized because their estrogen is, and it was just like fucking hell, man. What a disaster. And he was drunk there, and he's with his fucking unattractive wife, and it's just like, is that it? I mean, fucking hell.
Have I told you that story when I worked at the warehouse? There were the worn through guys were like, how old are you? I'm like, guess. 24.
Yeah.
Like, oh, why, thank you. No, what do you mean, thank you? It's like, well, I'm actually 31. What? 31? How old do you think we are? I'm like, in the mid to late 30s. Turns out they were 24.
Oh,
years of heavy tobacco, like rollers. Years of heavy tobacco, roller heavy tobacco, and alcohol, and just overweight, dark rings around the eyes, just tired of life, I was like, damn, you're 24 and you're already dead.
That's a pretty bad
Yeah,
statement.
no, but that's actually like the best way to put it. Like you're 24 and you're already dead. I've like, again, I can compliment Rolo when I want to. I really can. But I mean, I look at Tomasi. He's like 54, I want to say. He's like 10 years younger than my dad. And he kind of looks like me, kind of thing. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
he's in shape,
yeah.
still's got the great hair, full of life, you name it. And then I look at my own dad. It was like 64, and it's just he was gone years ago, kind of thing. And I mean, I don't mind being open about this, but he texted me a while back, like, could you take my medicine? And I was so, or no, could you pick up my medication? And I was so resentful when he asked me that, because I'm like, you don't need the medication if you just watch your diet and put some exercise in. It's these self-afflicting, self-harming things that people do that could be avoided if you just make a couple of better decisions. You could live a great life. There are so many people in this sphere, like even you, Rob, Vince from Masculine Geek, Rolo, I don't know how old Ryan is, nobody knows, Rich Cooper, in their 50s or closing on to 50, look in great shape. And
yeah,
it just shows you that there is a better choice.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. You know, but I think, again, you know, Tusk would bang on about the hormonal stuff if he was here. And I think that is also something that guys need to have a look at. It doesn't necessarily mean get on TRT or whatever, but it's definitely something to be aware of. What do you guys think is a percentage of marriageable women? Lately, I only find non-marriageable women with tons of red flags.
Red flags or a green light, sir?
It sounds like you're looking for a trad wife. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like I'm not screening for that, so it's hard for me to say.
Speaking of stealing other people's work, I hate this so much when this happens. And Rob has made a joke out of it. Like, red flags are a green light is my quote. I am very proud of that contribution to the manosphere. It's like that was the first show, one of the first shows you and I did. I called it that, like red flags are a green light, the first or second one. But it's attributed to Rob. I'm like, mother fuck. Even though in his own post, he acknowledges me for it. But people just read all over that. It's like, oh, Rob said that. It's like, no. And he knows that bothers me, and now he just plays up to it. It's like, I love it. Like, I love that old man. But it does suck when people like misrepresent your quotes. Like, God
we finally brought it back to the topic of the show.
Yeah,
he saw your you did the work and he took the credit.
Yeah, he took it to heart. He really took it to heart. Like his women are great. Carney folk. No, let me rephrase that. He is now hanging out with Carney folk. He's doing fire breathing. He's dating a belly dancer, and they're doing fire breathing skits.
There you go. You know,
the man is 55 or something. How old is Rob? No, 50. Like 5'3", no, 5'4", bald, has 3 girlfriends, and breathes fire. It's like, life doesn't have to end, you know?
It doesn't. It really doesn't. Do you think some women get fat in marriage since they don't enjoy fun time with their husbands? Possibly, yeah. Possibly. It's a kind of a, you know, diversion tactic or something.
It's dread. It's a lack of dread, I think. Or it's like, is the guy in shape?
Hung Warlock. What a great name. Will I ever meet that cool and awesome lady? Sometimes I'll just walk around for hours and not see anyone I'm interested in. When I do, they normally have boyfriends or flake. Well, yeah, man. I mean, I wonder where you live. But it's a tough market out there, man. I mean, it's, you know, there's competition. It's, you've got to really, yeah, you know, need a bit more context, really. Maybe you live in a place that's shit for dating, in which case, you know.
Did they flake or did something really come up? Because, like, being in general here, women are neurotic and flaky and distracted as hell. The old maxim stays where it's like, if she brings up a different date or a different day, you're fine. But
Yes.
just assume something is going to come up. She's going to be late. She's going to miss her flight. She's doing something. But if as long as she puts in the effort to want to see you, you'll be fine.
Well, look, okay, so no, absolutely. And so Hung Warlock says he's nomadic and he's traveling all over trying to find that special woman. He's currently in Barcelona. Well, come on, man. Jesus Christ. I mean, Barcelona's fucking great. There must be loads of hot women there. Why don't you go to Poland? Go to Warsaw. Warsaw's fucking full of absolutely stunning Ukrainian and Polish women. I mean, there's loads of fucking, if you're in Europe, I mean, there's loads of fucking beautiful women around. Maybe either your standards are too high or you're not really taking enough shots, and probably, look, I don't know. We don't know any context here, but if you're regularly getting flakes, it may well be that there's something wrong with your game, because it's not. I was on this webinar last night with John MLD's group, and I was trying to explain this. It's like, if you think about it, like, firstly, most guys don't approach, so that's the first thing. But then if you're a guy and you do actually approach, or you approach sometimes, that's better than 95% of guys. But it also matters the manner in which you're approaching and the energy and what you're doing in those approaches. Does that make sense? So if a guy just walks up to like 100 chicks and goes, "Oh, hi, yeah, I wanted to say hello. Yeah, you seem nice. Oh, I work as an estate agent. Do you want to go for a drink sometime?" Or something that's really lame. He's probably going to get blown out 100 times. It's not because the concept of game doesn't work. It's because he's not doing the game right, or he's not doing the game with enough male to female polarity. He's not bringing enough edge, to kind of phrase, into the equation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's not reflective on his game. He's like, well, I'm approaching. Yes, but how are you approaching?
Yeah, like what? And I hate to use the word energy because I sound like Pat Stedman, but it's like, what energy are you bringing when you approach? Like when you're interacting, in my view, when you're interacting with a woman, you've got to bring a certain. There's got to fucking hell, man. There's got to be chemistry there. You've got to, and your job is to seek to ignite that chemistry. Like I was out with a girl yesterday we went for afternoon tea, and then we ended up hanging out for a bit afterwards and stuff. And it's like, okay, so a date like that could be extremely vanilla, right? But it's like, how are you interacting with her? What are you saying? What's your body language like? What's your posture like? What's your fucking eye contact like? Are you using touch? Are you just talking about vanilla, boring shit? Or are you sort of, are you going along with everything and agreeing with everything she says? Or are you challenging her sometimes? Are you calling her out on stuff? Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to bring the fucking party when you're interacting with these women. And if you don't, unfortunately, a lot of the time they're like, yeah, he seemed all right, but, I'm going to go. I'm going to go fuck Chad from the Cancun phone party.
Well, but it's like, reflect on your game. Also, what I notice is like, that special woman, get that out of your head. There is no one special woman. There are women who treat you how you want to, and there are women who don't. It's that simple.
That's also true. True.
It's that simple. There is no special woman. There are women who treat you like you want, and there are women.
I'm sure in Barcelona there's going to be some attractive, intelligent women who are cool to hang out with. I mean, they're just, come on, man. It's fucking summer in Barcelona. It's, it must be great. And even if not there, go over to Poland, go over to, I don't know, fucking Budapest. I mean, there's just don't go to Amsterdam, don't go to Holland. But apart from that, I mean, it's going to be great.
Well, exactly. But it's like, come on, people. Like, yeah. And I'm not saying that, like, say you have a girlfriend or you're married. I'm not saying she's not special to you, but it's like, you've probably had girlfriends before. You probably, like, who knows, like, whatever. But this one hasn't messed you over. This one has put in the effort, whatever. Now, if you mean that was special, sure, but just get the word special out of your mouth. And I think that mental model will already fix you. And that's kind of like with TRP. And I notice this a lot. Lately, where the tone of TRP is misogynistic for a reason. Like, because it repels all the woo-woo magical stuff. But if you're not artistic, then you'll get it. Where it's like, take it with a grain of salt. Like, oh, there is no one. Where it's like, it takes an unhealthy attachment to create it into a healthy detachment.
Oh, that
makes
sounded
sense. I know, right? I thought
Got
very long and hard about that. To bring it back to the abandonment issues and the abandonment issues, it's like when you have that, and I'm speaking from experience, like a youth trauma isn't fun. You start to reflect your needs and desires upon somebody else, and that is just an unhealthy attachment because you want that person in front of you to fill the void. And what TRP does, and all the note swaps and all the mental models we have, is take that unhealthy attachment and create it into a healthy detachment. Where it's like, yeah, I love you, but you are not probably the only one and the last one I'm going to love. I'd like to, but it might not be that way. And you learn to accept that.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, paradoxically, because you accept that, it probably will last a long time.
Yeah. Indeed. What's Troy's opinion on being the old man in the club? How very dare you? I've always heard Rob's take. I already heard Rob's take on this last week. Well, I don't know, man. I mean, firstly, I don't go to clubs that much now anyway. So there's that. Secondly, how old do I actually look? I don't know. I don't want to flatter myself here, but I don't yet feel. Well, it depends on the nature of the club and the people that are in there and stuff like that. But I went to a couple of places in Miami recently, and I didn't particularly feel old in there or anything. I probably was older than, not everybody, but I was probably older than quite a number of the people there. But I didn't feel like I was standing out as being horrendously old or anything. Because I don't know, man. I think I look, I don't know. I don't want to put a number on it. But I think so there's that aspect of it. I think if I did start to look like somebody's dad or somebody's granddad, I would step away. And as I say, I don't really go to clubs that much anymore anyway. But I think in the end, it's like, look, I mean, like, fuck what other people think. Who gives a fuck anyway, right? I mean, you only have one life. Just do what you want to do. I mean, there are certain places I wouldn't necessarily. I tend to go to clubs more abroad, so I get a bit of a foreigner pass as well. I think. I don't know.
I have no idea. It's like I barely go to clubs. So it's like I said, I'm stuck in this attic. I let them come to me. I just look smacks, and then girls hit me up in the DMs. Kind of thing, or in Rolo's live chat. That's how I do it.
Is this I'm your age, try but look younger? It's awesome.
Moisturize, people, moisturize.
Yeah, it's misogynistic help filter out the guys who worship women. The moment you say something harsh, a white knight would defend a woman. Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. And then one guy here says the vibe, I think, is in reference to what I was talking about. When you sit down with the girl, what's the energy, what's the vibe? And he says, also known as be pleasant, don't be unpleasant. Well, yeah, but it's a bit more than that, isn't it? Because if you're just pleasant, is that going to get her knickers wet?
It depends.
I know, Jack, you tell me.
I'm a pleasant young man.
I mean, if it was just as simple as just be pleasant, then everyone would be getting laid, wouldn't they?
But you need to learn. You need to learn how to spike. And
yes,
funnily enough, of all people, it is me who got this advice. Rob, Dante, and even Ryan said it, where it's like alpha and beta are behaviors, and with pleasant, it's like it's the comfort part. You have like the dopamine, the anxiety, and the comfort. And when you can do both, it's a perfect mixture. My problem is I tend to lean too much to the anxiety side, where it's like my default is making jokes kind of thing. And when you have a girl in front of you who's already a bit anxious about where she is with you, and you make an agree and amplify or a cocky funny or whatever, there will be hell to pay, sir. You need to learn to balance that. And Rob and Dante and Ryan told me up the beta.
Which is interesting because most guys have the opposite problem.
Yep. I have it the other way around, where it's my default is
so you need to have that balance between, as you say, the attraction stuff, the spiking, plus the comfort, or the sexualization plus the comfort. Because I was talking to a guy on the webinar last night, and he was saying, girls just think I'm a player. They end up ghosting me because they think I bang them and that's all I want. And I'm like, well, you need to turn up the comfort then. It's a fine balancing act between the two of them. So anyway, we should probably wrap it up because we've been on for ages.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. I'm off this day anyway, so if you want to keep testing out your equipment, I'm fine with that.
I got about 1 hour's sleep last night, so I'm.
Yeah.
But Hung Warlock, face green, smiling, special girl. Think pink hair, a Dostoevsky book, walking with confidence and style. Late 20s, early 30s. She sounds like she's got pink hair, man. She's a low quality woman. I bet she's got tattoos as well.
Is this Billy? I have a feeling he's messing with us. I think it's.
Well, anyway, Berlin, you're going to find girls like that. Warsaw, you'll find girls like that. Riga, you'll find girls like that. There's plenty of them around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, look, let's wrap it up because I need to go and die for a bit. Yeah. But anyway, what's the summary of it all?
Oh, that's a big question for this one. Damn. Oh, we didn't even get into that. Like, don't have peace with the fact that your work and your quotes are probably going to get mischaracterized, watered down, and presented as somebody else's work. Just know it happens and have peace with it. Don't be moralizing it. See it for what it is. And if you are in a situation where you can take advantage of it, I mean, why not? If it helps you move forward in the world, I'm not going to tell you shouldn't, but I'm not going to tell you should either.
Exactly. And on that bombshell, I haven't got any final thoughts, really. I think just don't get more than 2 hours sleep on a Thursday night. Otherwise, you're going to be really tired. And get to the gym early in the morning because it was... Man, I'll tell you what, so the gym opposite me, Jack, I'll send you a video because I've taken some videos in there, but it's like a proper bodybuilder gym. It's really good. Nice. There's a lot of very, very gruff, serious looking men in there and hardly any lifting very heavy things and not many women. But it's good. Loads of equipment. And yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
It's nice to have variety. I went back to the gym, even though I have the rack. It's like just for nice machines. Rack. Yeah, I know, right? That's the one genetic good thing I have. It's my chest. It's like, but
mine's my penis.
I walked right into that. You can't have two guys on the podcast and not have dick jokes. You just can't. Exactly. You just can't. But no, I like the variety more, and the machines give me the option of like very slowly contracting everything, and it just helps out. Just helps out a lot.
Would you say? Does slowness help with the exercise if you do it like if you're is that a good thing to do?
I think in the long run it does. You have more time under tension, therefore you burn more calories. You can't go as heavy, therefore less injury sensitive. So it helps, but not for the reasons you think it does. Because a lot of people would go in the route of like, does it create more hypertrophy? Where it's like, well, it can, but there are multiple reasons to create muscle growth. It's just a method I'm using. Like, like swapping notes, man. Swapping notes.
Because some people talk about explosive movements as well, don't they? They're like, like doing a really, like that.
Yeah.
So
you want to do that with very heavy weights, but that's like it's sports related, in my humble opinion, where it's like if you're a power lifter, yeah. If you are a strongman competitor, yeah. If you're a CrossFitter, yeah. If you're a novice and you want to keep doing this for like 50 years, not a big fan of it. Just not a big fan of it. Because that's how I look at it, where it's like longevity.
Yeah.
And take this from a guy who dislocated his hip with squatting. Yes, I did.
Jeez.
It's not worth it in the long run. It's just not worth it. No honesty. I'm glad my hip got put back, but I'm more of the preventive type than anything else.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. On that note, please subscribe to our channels and press the notifications bells so that you get notified of all the new videos coming up. We've got a project we're going to be releasing soon, haven't we? Which is 7 Laws of Seduction, the audio book, which we will release soon. So do look out for that. We'll obviously be training that soon. Yeah, that's it really. I think Rule Zero tomorrow is on Glenn Lawrence's channel, I think. Are you going to be along for that?
Depends on what time I return from the airport.
Yeah. Are you and a special guest going to be? Although, well, actually, you might not. Strictly speaking, that might not be allowed because it's always been a men-only thing, hasn't it? But
yeah, no, it's like.
Although we did actually have Tiffany came on in Vegas, actually. So
really, Real Zero, funny. No, I kind of have a strict. I don't know if it's a policy thing or whatever, but I won't drop it on you guys. Where it's like I'll just enter the thing and then she's sitting next to me. I won't be doing that. It's like, hey, by the way, she's here. Is that okay? And if people are like, nah, we kind of want to keep it men only, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers.